Hello and good morning. It's Phil Thatch, and I am here today at a gas station on the side of Highway 58 in Chattanooga, Tennessee. And I've come out this morning, it's just a couple of minutes, maybe 10 or 15 minutes after sunrise. And I've come out this morning with my Nikon Z8 and the 24 to 120 camera. And I've just decided to take pictures of some businesses here along this road. These are just handheld. And my first shot was of the Circle K, which since I made that shot, the lights have turned off, so it doesn't look as good now. But let's take a look at the Circle K shot. All right, this is the first shot. This is the Circle K. I'm wide open at f4, which I probably shouldn't have been. I really probably should have stopped these down a little bit to get more depth of field, but I started out at f4. All my shots today are at 1/80th of a second. I thought that would be fast enough to freeze the motion. And of course, the Z8 has an electronic shutter, so there's not going to be any shutter shock in these. And I was trying to keep my ISO as low as possible on these handheld shots. So this one's f4, 1/80th of a second, ISO 720, and this is 24 millimeters. I like how the sky is not so bright that you can't see the lights inside the building that are nice and on, and just everything about this. By the time I made my video clip, these lights here had gone off, so it was getting brighter. But really love the way this turned out. The Circle K on Highway 58, where I have gotten gas a million times before I started driving an electric car. And my next shot was of the United States Post Office. Right next door, there it is. And I'm just using my regular aperture where I control it, shutter speed where I control it, automatic ISO, and I'm controlling the exposure with auto ISO. And I made a shot of the post office. Let's take a look at it. And right next door is the United States Post Office. This is the Harrison Post Office. And I love the way you can see the lights on inside. Now, if these lights were still on inside and it's broad daylight, you wouldn't be able to see the lights in there. But because it's just starting to have the sun come up and it's a nice overcast day, you can see the lights on in the building, and the light is kind of even outside the building. Really love that. This is 34.5 millimeters. I'm still at f4. This is 1/80th of a second, as every picture in today's video will be. And this is ISO 1100 of the United States Post Office. And my next shot from this same area, I just parked at the gas station and walked to these three places. My next shot was of a doc in a box, a walk-in clinic called Fast Pace Health. And it's right here. And it has some really bright lights on it, so I had to turn my exposure compensation way down to like minus 1.7 to keep from having blinkies in these bright lights. And let's take a look at this one and see how it looks. I was pretty happy to find three somewhat attractive buildings to photograph right together. Now, it's also raining, or it's not raining, it's misting, it's spitting rain, as some people would call it. So that's kind of nice. I'm hoping that my DJI Osmo Pocket 3 that I'm using right now doesn't get messed up, because it is not weather sealed, unlike my Nikon Z8. But anyway, let's take a look at Fast Pace Health, and I'm going to drive down the road and try to find someplace else before the light gets bad. Right next to the post office is Fast Paced Health and Urgent Care. This is a 33 millimeter shot. I'm still at f4 and 1/80th of a second. And my ISO is all the way down to 1/250th. I had to really underexpose this shot for most parts of it so that these lights wouldn't be just absolutely blown out. So I underexposed this by either 1.7 or 2.0 in terms of stops, and then raised the exposure up while lowering the highlights so that it looks like this. Lots of dynamic range on the Nikon Z8. And this is a really cool looking building, I thought. And I like the way the clouds look in the background. I got a couple more shots just a little ways down the road. These old buildings, not ancient buildings, but they're old. They're not nearly as new as the last ones I photographed. First one is Virgin Home Builders, which also houses Center Stage Dance. Made a photograph of this, and I've stopped my camera down. I think I made a mistake shooting at f4 on my first 3 shots. I probably should have stopped it down a little bit, but for the shots here, I've stopped them down to f5.6. So let's take a look at the dance studio. Here's an old building that has been converted into 2 businesses, the Virgin Home Builders. On the left-hand side, I like that their light was still on up here. I wish there was a light on inside the building. Same thing on the Center Stage Dance. I wish there was a light on inside the building, but this is a cool old building that's made into 2 businesses. I like how you can see all the dancing trophies inside there. That's pretty cool. And this light right here that you can see will also be in my next photo. So we'll look for that in just a minute. This is 24 millimeters, f5.6. I've stopped it down to f5.6 now. This is 1/80th of a second and ISO 800. So I parked my car right here. There it is behind me as I walk past it, which is right in between these 2 places. And I didn't get a picture of the Harrison Lodge number 114 on the side of this building, but over here on the other side of this building, I made a photograph of, what's it called? Oh, well, it's not even anything right now. It used to be a barber shop, Harrison Barbershop, but right now it's closed. It's either closed or for rent or maybe both. Oh, I think the barbershop's just over here on the left side of it. This next portion of this building is available for rent, and it's got a sign hanging off the side for Harrison Lodge, which is around the corner. So anyway, that's my next shot. Let's go find something else. Here's the next shot of the barber shop on the left-hand side of this building, and an available area that you could rent on the right-hand side of this building. And around the corner is the Harrison Lodge number 114. And this is looking down Highway 58. The front of this building is kind of to the side of it. And there's my car. I just left my car in the picture. I could have moved it, but I thought my car looked all right there. And there's that light. This is the light in the front of the dance studio that's right next door. And I told you it'd be in my next picture. This is 24 millimeters, 1/80th of a second, f5.6, and ISO 720. So my next stop was this Weagles or Waggles. I'm not sure exactly how to pronounce it. It's a gas station, which I think is kind of funny. Man with electric car comes out and makes pictures of gas stations right after sunrise. But anyway, the building I photographed was right over there. I'm under the gas pumps right now, and I didn't photograph the gas pumps at all. I just stood about right here at the center and photographed just the building. So let's see how that turned out. Here's the Weagles gas station. It's another 24 millimeter shot, 1/80th, f5.6, and ISO 280. I've thought this building was beautiful since they built it. It's only been open for a year or 2, and the light is nicely blended. I can see all the lights on inside. They're not blown out, and the outside of the building is not underexposed or overexposed. So it's just a nice blend. And I thought the rainy parking lot also helped the picture out. And so there is the new Weagles. I've thought about taking a picture showing the gas pumps, but the gas pumps block the building, and the building is the beautiful part of this architecture. Rain's getting a little bit heavier. Matter of fact, it dumped buckets on me while I was driving to this location, but my next stop was the Highway 58 Volunteer Fire Department. And I think I managed to get a somewhat okay shot of it. Here's the Volunteer Fire Department on Highway 58. This is a 24 millimeter shot at 1/80th, f5.6, and the ISO landed at 640. It's getting a little bit brighter, so there's not as much detail in the clouds as there was in the earlier shots, at least not in this shot. And I like that you can see these lights on, and the fire trucks are lit up inside the fire hall. The person that works at the fire hall drives a red truck, so that's kind of cool. And I made 2 versions of this shot. This is the exact same shot. I've just got it cropped differently. So this one is cropped like I would normally crop it, but I thought it would be cool to crop it this way as well, with a nice rule of thirds fire plug right in front of the fire hall. So if their building burnt down, that would be a tragedy. So I guess they needed to be ready with a fire plug right by their building. And I like the way both of these turned out. I can't decide if I like this one better or this one better, but I'm pretty happy with both of them. Next stop is at this self-storage climate controlled business over here. You know, didn't realize that they had changed this place. It used to be a motorcycle dealership years ago, but now it is a self-storage, a U-store sort of a place, and it still has the lights on. I was driving down the road and thinking, okay, I must be done. All of these places no longer have their lights on, but this place still has its lights on. So that made for a much better shot. So let's take a look at this one using the Z8 and the 24 to 120 handheld this morning. So this is a new self-storage, climate-controlled U-store place, and I think it's an absolutely beautiful building. I like the red and gray, and I like the font that they've chosen for this sign. I like that the lights are on inside, and you can see the storage areas with the red doors. And it looks like there must be some stairs. There's some more storage areas upstairs here, and over to the right you can see some larger storage areas where I guess you could store a boat or something. But anyway, really happy with the way this shot turned out, and I had no idea this was even here. Like I say, I thought it was a motorcycle dealership, or it used to be one. This is 30.5 millimeters, 1/80th, f5.6, and ISO 360. One of my favorite pictures of the day. Well, I'm going to call it a morning. I think I had a pretty good morning. I left the house this morning with no idea what I was going to shoot. So I brought everything. I brought the Z8, I brought the 600 PF, I brought the 100 to 400 just in case I wanted to do bird photography or some mild macro photography. Then I bought the 24 to 120, which is what I ended up using all day. And I also brought my ultra wide, the Viltrox 16 millimeter 1.8. So I brought all that stuff just so I'd be ready for whatever it was I found. And what I ended up finding was just a bunch of pictures of buildings on the side of Highway 58, which I think are going to turn out pretty good. I hope you enjoyed them. You've already seen them. I haven't seen them yet. If you did like this content, reach down and hit thumbs up. That helps me out a lot. And if you want to see some more stuff like this and probably a lot more bird photography, subscribe and hit the bell. And as always, I hope to see you in my next video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye-bye.